Hello, this is Alex Calvo Garcia. You're listening to the Iron Hour podcast.
Thanks for tuning in once again to another episode of the Iron Hour podcast. As always, I'm your host, Barrett. I'm joined by the wonderful Becky. How you doing, Becky?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. I'm even better because we've got a very special guest with us today. We have a man who was promoted twice with Scunthorpe United, once as a player, once as a manager. Three times, he's telling me. I've got it wrong already. Three times. Three times promoted with Scunthorpe United. World record holder, 28 games unbeaten, of course. And, Scunny fans still sing about that every time we come up against the likes of Gainsborough or whoever you're managing. Scunny fans love to chant about you, Russ. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Nice to meet you both.
You
No,
too.
thanks. Thanks for joining us today. We've got lots to talk about, many stories I'm sure you can go through with us. Let's start at your career with Doncaster, your first club.
Yeah, joined at age of 16, which is a lifetime ago. That was, oh, wow, I don't know, 1979, I think, something like that, 80. Billy Bremner, Leeds United and Scotland legend. What a player he was. He'd just come to the end of his career. I think he was still only about 38. So he used to join in training now and again. And yeah, 5'4", but I don't think I've ever come across a man that had so much will to win. And he instilled that in the group. Obviously, I was just a young boy, but it was great to watch the experienced pros, Alan Warboys, Hugh Dowd, Snodding brothers. That was in my first season. Got promoted, and I managed to make my debut in the last game. Me and Glenn Humphreys, only because they'd already been promoted, I think. So it was Mansfield away. I played the first half. Humps played the second half. I can't have played very well because I never kicked a ball again for Doncaster Rovers until I was 29 when I returned. But yeah, good times. Very, very different, the upbringing, as in things you can do that you can't do now, kind of thing. I always remember a quick story regarding Billy Bremley. He came into the Whitey's dressing room, pointed at four of us and said, "Come with me." We went in his car, went to his house in Doncaster, and went into his garden. He said, "See those bricks over there? I want those moving. Can you move that over there and do this, do that?" Something that just won't happen nowadays. But what he was trying to do there was, keep his feet on the ground, make sure we didn't get carried away with ourselves, because the bottom line is we were only scholars at the time. Good values for me, but yeah, really good times. Made my debut, did well that season as a midfield player, which obviously I finished as a centre half. I can tell you about that a bit later. But yeah, made my debut against Mansfield, 1-1 draw away at Mansfield. Following season, I'd done well that season in midfield. I scored, I think, 20, 22, 23 goals from midfield. So he was pleased with what I'd done. Got glandular fever the following pre-season, and it really knocked me for six. I think I came back too early as well, picked up injuries. And the bottom line was that I think I only figured about 11 times that year for the youth team, and got released at the end of the season, which was a huge blow.
And then, I think with a lot of these success stories, you end up having to take a step down basically to kind of reignite their career. Back to I guess your hometown club in Frickley Athletic.
Yeah, that's right. Interesting story before that. I actually went on trial with Cambridge United. John Docherty, the Scottish manager who I think managed Millwall as well. He was tiny. My first two managers were about 5'4", Bremner and him. Went on trial. Actually played in a practice match against the first team. And he actually pulled me into his office and said, "Have you thought about playing centre half?" Which I never had. As a kid, I was like most players, a striker. Scored quite a lot of goals, and then dropped into midfield. But what he did, it was a key moment in my career, because he planted a seed for me, and he didn't actually sign me at Cambridge, but I played centre half in that practice game, and everything was in front of me. I could read the game quite well. Decent size. He said to me, "You've got a good passing range." Blah blah blah. Didn't sign me, but then I went in at Frickley as a midfield player because obviously they knew I'd played there for Doncaster Rovers, but kept getting into the manager's ear saying I'd like an opportunity to play at the centre half if I can. And I think his short answer was, "You'll play where you're told." I think I was a bit of a cheeky 18-year-old at the time. But eventually my chance came. I mean, I had 4 seasons there. It took me 4 seasons to get back into full-time football. But I look back on my career and I wouldn't change it. It was a godsend. I think if I'd stayed at Doncaster, I could have drifted away. So in them 4 years, I played about 150 games, probably 100 of those as a centre half, and then managed to break into the England non-league team, squad, sorry, which was massive at the time regarding obviously people coming to watch. And that's what happened really. So I got an opportunity then to, again, it's a strange, I don't think many people know that I could have signed for Sheffield Wednesday or Northampton Town and chose Northampton Town. I think at the time, probably didn't have that much confidence in myself to make that big jump to Sheffield Wednesday, to such a huge club, even though it was on my doorstep. Guaranteed first team football was the reason why I went to Northampton, and it turned out a really good move. We won the league, the 4th division, the old 4th division, which is obviously League Two now, in the first season, with some incredible players that Graham Carr had put together, most of those, or 4 or 5 at least, coming from non-league. Richard Hill, who went on to play for Watford in the Premiership. Trevor Morley, who went to play for Man City and West Ham in the Premiership. Who was the other one? There was 3. Eddie McGoldrick, who played for, I think, Palace in the Premiership. So all those started in non-league. Myself, Dave Gilbert, who went to play, I think, for Grimsby as well. So Graham did an unbelievable job recruiting from non-league. A really good time. Like I said, the first season, won the league, 99 points, 103 goals. I managed 1. It was decent, like, but it was 1 out of 103, wasn't bad return. So yeah, good times. 4 years there. And then got a really good move to Hull City, who was in the Championship at the time.
And you played for a couple of local clubs, Hull, Doncaster, then going across to Preston before coming over to Scunthorpe. Before we get onto your time at Scunthorpe, any kind of standout memories of your time at either Hull or Doncaster?
More Preston, I'd say. Doncaster was a difficult period. It was under Ken Richardson, the chairman, who I think people know, ended up going to prison for allegedly, got to be careful with my words here, allegedly, doing things wrong that he shouldn't have done at the football club. So that was a difficult period. Enjoyed my period there, played under some good managers, Steve Bigelow, Sammy Chung. Really stood out for me. He came in there, I think he was about 66 at the time, and don't think I've ever met a calmer manager in all my life. Never raised his voice once in the time I was there. Got the best out of his players. I mean, I'm looking at 1992 and we're playing a diamond, which I don't think anybody had probably heard of that. He'd worked abroad. I think he'd worked in Sweden. Ahead of his time. But what a great guy. Unfortunately, I think he passed away last year at the age of 90. So learned a lot from Steve Bigelow, learned a hell of a lot from Sammy Chung regarding sort of game management, regarding how to treat people. The man management side of the game has changed. Certainly in my time, we always used to get a rant and a rave if the scoreline wasn't perfect at half time, but things have changed, people have changed, so you've got to be adaptable. So I learned a lot in that period. Hull was a difficult one as well, sort of firefighting in Championship. We got relegated that first season. I think when I signed, there was high hopes of actually getting to the Premiership. We actually went the other way, which was disappointing. And then I had a couple of sort of firefighting seasons with Hull under Terry Dolan, who did a great job. The budget was cut massively. We're bringing in players, again, similar to myself from non-league. Found a jewel in Dean Windass at the time, who signed from Ferriby, North Ferriby. I can remember him coming into the club and as one of the experienced pros, then thinking, oh, we're going nowhere. We're signing players from North Ferriby, and Dino come in and he's just blew everybody away with his technical ability and certainly his character. Your life and soul of the party, Dino. So good times wherever I've been, but sort of different tales to tell regarding that. Preston was amazing. One of my most enjoyable periods. Again, went in there, signed from Doncaster. They bought me, I think, for 60k in September, so early season. Again, we won the league that year with Preston, and Preston's a huge club, which surprised me. It took me back. The fans there were incredible. I really enjoyed my 2 years there. Like I say, won the league the first season with players like Andy Saville, who's Hull based. He scored 30 goals that season. He was incredible that year. I've never seen a performance from an individual like that in any of the teams I've played in. Some of the goals he scored was sublime. It was chips, headers, left foot, right foot, 30-yarders, 20-yarders, 2-yarders. Incredible season he had. So yeah, special times there. And then obviously Brian Laws brought me to Scunthorpe. I think Mark Lillis actually came over to a Preston game, and watched me. Again, I think it was a little bit disappointing how I left sort of Preston. They offered me a year's contract, but the manager actually said to me, I'm going to offer you a year's contract, but I don't want you to sign it. So really strange comment to say from a manager. It was the year before the Bosman kicked in. So obviously I was 33, but I wasn't a free transfer. And I think because they paid £60,000 for me, they wanted a return. They got 15 grand, I think, off Scunthorpe. So I'd like to think I was a bit of a bargain.
Just going on to your playing career, Russ, who would you say the best manager you played under would be? Obviously, you've highlighted quite a few. They all sound great.
I think being a manager myself now, I think if you asked me that question before I managed, I would have definitely picked one out. I think it's very hard to do that once you manage yourself, and I can't explain why. But everybody, all of them had different positives and negatives to how they worked. So I don't really want to single anybody out. I could box them off a little bit and say, man management wise, that was definitely Sammy Chung, Doncaster Rovers. Graham Carr was a fantastic first manager for me because I'd come out of non-league where subconsciously you pick up bad habits, or you can do. Not saying I did, but he kicked me backside a little bit, I'll be honest, and got me on the straight and narrow regarding how to be a professional footballer. Because I come from Frickley, I'd had 4 years there. We only trained Tuesday night, Thursday night, played Saturday, had a job in between that. So it was a different ball game going full time. So he was superb regarding putting us non-league lads, explaining that, if you want to stay in this game, then you've got to do certain things right. And like I say, I've just named players before that went on to play in the Premiership. So if I had to name one, it'd probably be Graham, because he was my first one, and he probably, without him, would I have had the career I had? I'd probably say no, because he was tough. He was a big, tough Geordie. You can't believe Alan Carr's his son, really, because he's this big hard Geordie that used to rule with an iron fist, to be honest. some stories there. I mean, we were so fit; it was incredible. The running we did at that football club, I've never done anything like that since in any other club in my career. We used to run around this park on a Monday. We'd never see a ball on a Monday, and we were so fit. But every time we won a game, we won 30 games out of 46 that season, which is incredible. Every time we won a game, he would say, "That's why we run on Mondays. That's why we do this. That's why we do that." And I used to think, "I hate you, but you are correct." And I've taken good values from that. You know, my first meeting saw a few clubs is you don't work hard, you don't play.
Absolutely.
So it should be it's a non-negotiable in my eyes. So I'd say Graham probably set the bar really high for us all, and a lot of the lads achieved the goal of playing in the Premiership. You know, for me to play in the Championship, if somebody said to me when I was at Frickley, "You'll play in the Championship," you know, I'd have absolutely snapped the hand off. It was an amazing feeling to go from that non-league to progress with a couple of promotions and then actually playing the Championship. I look back on my career with great pride, with some special times.
It's a lot of hard work that went into it to get from the Championship from non-league. People just think it's easy, it's a stroke of luck, when really you've just highlighted just how hard it can be to get there.
Yeah, and I think that's why my values are mainly regarding hard work, because if you're a professional footballer, you've obviously got talent. So it's the other bits it's the other boxes that you need to tick. The simple boxes sometimes, like get yourself in good shape physically, because you know that should be a non-negotiable. But some people it isn't. You always talk about people. He had talent. He had talent. He had talent. Where did he end up? You know, and there's lots of players with tons more talent than I have that haven't reached their goal. But for me, it's I can look myself in the mirror and go, I actually overachieved, which gives me a real special feeling.
No, well said. Right. I mean, let's get stuck into the stuff we all care about. You arrived at Scunthorpe United, as you say, under Brian Laws, and quite a useful career, actually. It's a shame in a lot of ways. I think we always think we got you at the back end of your career. But for me, growing up, my very first memory, Russ, I always tell people this, my very first memory was the 99 playoff final. And all I can remember from that day was the heat. It was so hot. But I remember my dad saying, Russ Wilcox and Tommy Evans have had the games of their life here. You know, and having watched the footage back, it astounds me actually, because, you know, obviously we give the plaudits to Garcia for getting that goal, but that's got to be up there with one of your greatest performances, really. It was an absolute shutout.
Yeah, it was an amazing day. I thought Chris Hope was unbelievable as well, as he always was, Mr. Consistency. Again, I've just touched on attitude and the application side and doing things right. He was an amazing example to the group. Even myself, who's obviously older than Chris, but I'd captained most clubs I'd been at, and obviously when I went into Scunthorpe, sorry, he was the captain, and I didn't have an issue with that, because for me you should have 11 captains anyway. But he led by example a different way. I was more vocal. He was more follow me, do what I do, because I'm amazing as a professional. But going back to the Wembley day, I saw something on Twitter. Somebody sent me something. I'm not on social media, but somebody sent me something and said, I disagree. Russ Wilcox, his performance at Wembley was the best ever that I've seen. It might be your dad. So yeah, again, looking at little bits that people send you or you see after you finish your career is very rewarding. But the Wembley day was so special for different reasons as well. For me, it is the best game of my life, because me eldest boy was mascot Joe. He was only 10 at the time. He's now 35, so it just shows you how old I am. My wife was in the stand with our first child, which was Daniel. He was born in November '99, and unfortunately, I lost my dad that year. So it was a real roller coaster ride because that was actually his last game that he saw me play, Wembley. He'd watched me from the age of 9, so mixed emotions on that day, but real special emotions as well. To win as well, to get a clean sheet is always key. If you're a defender, the game was a roller coaster ride. We could have sort of won 2 or 3, and then all of a sudden Orient changed their shape second half, I think, and bombarded our goal for the last 20 minutes, where me, Chris Hope, and Logie and Tommy in goal had to be at our best, which we were. And real special day that.
It was an amazing time. I think with it being one of, our first successful trip to Wembley, but actually one of the first promotions that I can remember, and it'll be the same for a lot of Scunthorpe fans. It felt, I don't know if it was the kind of emotion of the 90s at the time, but it just felt so exciting. And I think Brian had probably changed how we played football, or changed football in a lot of ways for a club like Scunthorpe, because although it might not be obvious now, he was quite revolutionary, wasn't he?
Yeah, he did a great job. I think the key to that sometimes is, or probably always is your signings. You judge on your signings, and he brought in some good players. Simple as that, gelled. We had a fantastic team spirit. When we had nights out, we had nights out. Everybody was there. Nobody would make an excuse. We were a really tight-knit group, and I think it showed on the day. All of a sudden when we got put under massive pressure them last 20 minutes, we stood strong and stood by each other and seen the game out. But yeah, we played 3-4-3 as well, which a lot of teams didn't play that way. The front three of Johnny Eyre, John Gale, and Jamie Forrester, incredible. I think Johnny Eyre and Jamie got 40 goals between them that season. And that's what made the life difficult moving forward. We lost both players to Bosmans that year, that summer. So to lose 40 goals and then step into a higher division where obviously the teams are better. I remember playing Wigan the first game and losing 3-0 and thinking that early in the season we could be in bother, because the team we had in League Two was better than the team we had in League One, which is difficult to do if you want to progress and develop and move the club forward. I'm not blaming anybody for that. It was just, sometimes it's just reasons. Both the players came out of contract. Correct me if I'm wrong. Did John go to Hull?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so John went to Hull. Jamie went to. Did you go to Belgium? Was it Belgium?
It was a European country. I can't remember which one it was. It could well have been.
I can't remember the club either, but he went out there. So to lose 40 goals, to lose it, the players that have done so well for you. I remember starting the first game and we had John Gale and Wayne Graves up front, which, no disrespect to them, but the season was always going to be difficult. I know as a manager you judge on results, but you need good players to win games. The game is pretty simple at times. Everybody talks about these top managers nowadays, but all these top managers nowadays have all got top players. I'd like to see some of these top managers come and manage in League One or League Two with a, I don't know, £3 million budget instead of a 300 million budget. Because it's all about your players. Obviously, you have to manage those players. You have to cajole those players. You have to put those players into a shape. But if you've got better players, it's a little bit easier.
Of all the systems you've played in then as a defender, how did that 3-4-3 kind of match up? Did you often get the cover from your wingers, did you feel, or was it very much a 3 at times?
No, it was fine because I played the right hand side. Chris played middle. Logie played Logie played in the middle. Chris played on the left. Wing backs were Andy Dawson and Paul Arsley, they were both just flying machines. So we got the protection, we got the cover. It was usually Justin Walker and Alex, and then the front three, John Gale through the middle with Jamie on the left and John Eyre on the right. So it was a really good team. Or Gareth Sheldon at Wembley, who burst on the scene as a young kid, full of enthusiasm, full of energy. So now the shape seemed to work quite well. But again, you look through that team and everybody had good careers, so everybody's a good player in that team. So a team like that in League Two, was always, in my opinion, going to do well. A team of strong characters as well, and a team full of togetherness. And I think that's important. So sometimes you can have the best players, but if they don't gel and they don't buy into the philosophy of the club and what you want as a manager or even a player alongside, we loved this time together. I couldn't wait to go into training. I couldn't wait for the next night out. We bonded really well, and we're still in touch with each other now, a lot of us. So it shows you that Brian put a team together there that was superb, really. For the level we were playing at, and not surprised that we got the success that we did.
Just talking about the best players, and in your playing career, who would you say maybe the best player you've played against and with? Is there any that stand out?
Probably the best player I played with was probably Trevor Morley at Northampton, who went on to obviously Man City and West Ham. Trevor actually didn't get into the Football League till he was 24, 25. I'd have to check that. But he signed, again, Graham Carr signed him from Nuneaton. He was the captain. He'd been there the year before I signed for Northampton. I remember the season I came in, and he didn't train at all pre-season. He was injured. I think he had a groin problem. And he literally trained the Thursday, Friday before the first game of the season, and played the full game. Just told you everything about his character, about how committed he was to the group. But he just had so much quality. Big, strong lad, could play different ways. Not the quickest, but very, very intelligent. Got hold of the ball, linked the play up well, scored goals. Had a fantastic hairstyle. Looked like D'Artagnan, long flowing perm with a tash. He was. He looked the part, and he was the part. Best player I played against would have to be Teddy Sheringham. When I played for Preston, we drew Tottenham in the not sure what it's called now, Carling Cup. 2 legs it was then, so he didn't play at Preston. I think they sent a few of the not first teamers. So we drew 1-1 in the first leg. So obviously a really good result. Sol Campbell played in that game actually as well. Really good result for Preston. Then we went there. Teddy played, and his intelligence on the football pitch was at a different level. He just playing little pockets. Everybody talks about 4-2-3-1, playing with a number 10 and off the strike, and he was doing that 25 years ago. I think Kenny Dalglish was probably doing it 35 years ago. But similar, it was a 4-4-2 with a striker dropping in, and I just couldn't get near him because what he'd do when the ball was if I was the covering centre half, he would just drop in that little pocket. So I couldn't leave my mate a 1v1. So by the time the ball got played into Teddy, by the time I got up to the ball had gone. And he just looked like he just played in second gear. Didn't look like he got a sweat on that night. I managed to get his shirt as well, which was a real positive. So I've got his shirt that he signed for me. They beat us 3-0, but you can see why he played up to being 40. I think he maybe is the oldest player, I think, to score in the Premiership. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I know he played in the Premiership at 40 years old. I think that tells you a lot about his intelligence. He didn't have pace, but he had an unbelievable footballing brain.
Fantastic career as well. I think he ended up at Colchester. I seem to think was probably his last club. I remember us playing them at the back end in the Championship. Yeah, cracking player.
Well,
so
just one more story on Teddy. I was manager at York City, and he was manager at Stevenage. So I obviously got to be in the dugout alongside him. My wife was absolutely delighted because she loves Teddy Sheringham a little bit more than she loves me, I think, at times. But that made her day. She was sat in the stand and saying my two favourite men are in the opposite dugout. So that was a special time, and he was a great guy as well. He was very sociable, made people feel welcome, and again, probably somebody who should have had a better managerial career. But we know how the game's changed now. You don't get time.
I think Stevenage, that was where he got sacked, and he came back the following week in fancy dress, so like in disguise. I don't know if you remember. Yeah, seriously, like it's like something out of a spy movie. You've never seen it. Like he had a cap on and like shaved, just to see how the team were getting on. Yeah, it's, honestly, you have to see the pictures to believe it. So your career kind of comes to an end as a player, but really quite fortunate, I guess, to be offered a position under Brian Laws as the assistant manager.